Welcome, Gridiron Gang. Welcome back to our podcast, the Gridiron Gang Football Podcast. Drew's here. I'm Pedro.
Pedro, I don't think you understand this. It's American football we're trying to talk about, not world football.
I'm aware. Hence, we've got Cam Newton and you're talking about my jersey.
Yes. Do they have Pepsi in Mexico?
They do actually.
Oh, I thought they're more
Pretty
of a
popular.
Coca-Cola.
Well,
thing.
I think at least my family is for sure big Coca-Cola fans. But yeah, I just after this staying at home and all that crap, this is one of the few shirts that still fits me. So had to rock it today. But yes, we're very excited. The top 10 fantasy quarterbacks. That's what we're going to go over in this episode. The quarterbacks, which I believe at least is a position where there's a lot of depth. Unless you're on like a 4-team league or a 2-quarterback team league, if you're in a 1-quarterback league with 10 or maybe even 12 participants, there's a lot of depth at the quarterback position. There's a lot of quarterbacks towards the end of your drafts or quarterbacks that even stay on your waiver wires that never get drafted, that if you're in a bind, I'm not saying they're going to win the league for you, but they're competent, fantasy speaking.
Yeah, I agree. And there's some other things that some people want to take quarterbacks really high. I had out of the three leagues, 2 guys took Patrick Mahomes in the first round, which is ridiculous to me.
Well, I think you see that.
But yeah, I mean, he's a special player. But like, what are some players you can get in later rounds? And we're going to talk about that a little bit.
Exactly. The top 10 fantasy quarterbacks going into the 2020-2021 season. Let's go ahead and start it. Drew, you want to kick us off?
Sure. Number 1 fantasy quarterback for me is Lamar Jackson. That's not very surprising. He is somebody. He's the reigning MVP. He's probably the reigning fantasy MVP for all I know. Oh, that's probably Christian McCaffrey because
it's Christian McCaffrey.
Blew up last year.
Quarterback won though.
I know, yeah, for sure. And I have zero doubt that this man will come in here and have some sort of like drop in his production. Maybe a little bit, but even still, he's available to come in there and blow people up with his legs or just surprise everyone with his inside the pocket passing ability like he did last year. I remember last year, what was it, Miami they opened up with?
Mm-hmm.
And
did like 5 touchdowns.
It was insane. He did not look anything like him of his old. So it's kind of simple. We're going to get the easy ones out of the way first. Lamar Jackson's number 1. What about you, Pedro?
For sure. I have Patrick Mahomes. Okay. And I believe it's one of those things where, you have Lamar, I have Patrick. Neither of us are going to argue with each other. It's very clear-cut who the top 2 fantasy quarterback studs are. I have Patrick Mahomes simply just because I believe he's a better quarterback than Lamar Jackson.
I was just thinking of like points. I think that because Lamar Jackson will rush more. Of course he still passes. I think Patrick Mahomes definitely blow him out of the water when it comes to passes. Yeah. Passing touchdowns, but like I'm talking about like how many rushing touchdowns did Patrick Mahomes have last year as compared to Lamar Jackson?
No, for sure.
Not that much. That's what I'm thinking about points wise. You want to talk about somebody that's going to rack up the points? Lamar Jackson.
Yeah. The only reason that I put him 2 instead of 1 is because I believe that if you take into account everything, all the possibilities of where a player can produce and where they cannot produce, Lamar Jackson producing with his legs, at least in my opinion, is something that can vary more. If Patrick Mahomes is healthy, if Tyreek Hill is healthy, and that whole Chiefs offense is clicking, I believe you can count on Mahomes more. Now we're just nitpicking though because it's 1 and 2, but yeah, for sure I have him at number 1. Listen to this: Patrick Mahomes, his 2018, MVP season. His touchdown percentage was 8.6, meaning that's the percentage of passes he threw that ended up as touchdowns. 8.6% of the passes he threw ended up as touchdowns when he had 50 touchdowns. That is ridiculously high. Most quarterbacks keep it at like 4 or 5. That is incredibly high. Last year, of course, he had some injuries, but he went back down to earth. He was 5.6. You know, I do expect that number to go up a little bit, though. I think Mahomes, we haven't seen too much of him. We all love him and all this, but we've only seen him 3 years. 2 as a starter. But I think Mahomes will probably give us more around the 6 to 7%. So that number will go up if he stays healthy. If Tyreek is healthy, I mean, I see him.
And don't forget he has a monster in there with Travis Kelce.
Kelce, yeah.
He's still going to be able to...
Monster red zone target. I see him throwing 30, if not 40 touchdown passes again this year. So that's why I believe he's number one, because I don't think Lamar is going to give you that 30, 40 touchdown passes that Patrick will. I'm assuming your number 2 is my number 1?
Yes. Patrick Mahomes is still an amazing quarterback, and the thing that I also wanted to talk about was, while Lamar Jackson will wide you with his legs, Patrick Mahomes will destroy you with his arm. And I think another thing that adds to his game is Clyde Edwards-Helaire. He will be able to come here. I expect him. He has a very low center of gravity. And I think that he's still going to be able to come in here as a rookie. I'm talking about Clyde Edwards-Helaire. And take those check down passes and take those screen passes, which still counts positive yards for Patrick Mahomes. So I think that that's a whole nother thing that he's never had. Damian Williams was always that guy that could take it up the gut, and he's never had that kind of, I don't know.
Well, they had one, but he couldn't stay out of trouble.
Kareem Hunt. But Clyde Edwards-Helaire is going to do a whole new dimension for that offense, and I think that it will still help Patrick Mahomes' game, whether it is 50 touchdowns in a year like he did a couple years ago, or he's somebody that can just rack it up. And plus, he still has sneaky legs. Patrick Mahomes really does.
Yeah, it's not like he can't move.
He's got some sneaky legs. So I think Patrick Mahomes is very much so a safe top 3 quarterback for sure.
For sure. My number 2 is Lamar Jackson. Real quickly, he had 36 passing touchdowns last season. And I just said that I don't think Lamar can give you that 30 to 40 touchdown range. And he just scored 36 last year. But what I mean is for his career. That was 1 year. For his career. We talked about that crazy number for Patrick Mahomes in 2018, the touchdown percentage, 8.6. Lamar Jackson's touchdown percentage last year, the percentage of passes that he threw that ended up being in touchdowns was 9% last year. That is ridiculous. That's not sustainable. He's not going to do that again. That has to fall. I see him scoring anywhere from 25 to 30 touchdowns this year. I think maybe he rushes a little more, which is crazy because he set the NFL record for rushing yards for quarterback at, I had it right here, I think it's like 1,200 yards. Yeah, 1,200 yards. And he's still going to be a top 3 elite quarterback, top 2. I definitely see it 100%. Where he's the 2-time MVP, lights the world on fire again, gets even better with his passing.
Well, I hope so.
Yeah, he's great. He's fun to watch. And but yeah, number 2, Lamar Jackson.
All right, am I going number 3?
Yeah. Who's number 3?
All right, here's somebody that I would never thought I would have picked as number 3. Dak Prescott.
Love it.
Dak Prescott is number 3 for 3 reasons. Okay, I got him for you. Amari Cooper, Michael Gallup, and CeeDee Lamb. That is all. No, not really. I think that he definitely has a fantastic receiving core, and he also has one of the best lines in the game. But you also think about how he became Rookie of the Year. His rookie year, he took the ball and he can run. He has legs.
Yeah.
He's a stout man that can take it for the first down. And he also has some premier passing. So I just think that easily could become something that can make him a top 3 quarterback. Last year he had a career year. Everybody wants to kind of hate on him because he's the quarterback of the Cowboys, but he has the the talent and the supporting cast to make him somebody that's very relevant in the fantasy world. And right now, I'm pretty high on the Cowboys. I am. As much as that pains me, just because we all, as NFL fans, like to tease and hate on the Cowboys fans. But I think that the Cowboys fans definitely have something to be very excited about. Well, he might even not play because he still doesn't have a quarterback. He doesn't have a contract.
Well, we're assuming that all these players are healthy at the start of the season and will play and will have a healthy season, of course. But yeah, I love that number 3 because I feel like in the discussions we've had previously on previous episodes about Dak, the Cowboys, and maybe even the Dak contract situation early on, I was supporting him. I was like, no, give him his money. He deserves it. I think he's gone a little haywire.
A little bit.
And he's asking for too much money, but that's a totally different conversation.
Just take the highest contract right now and be done.
That's a different conversation for a different day. But I'm glad you're coming around because last year he played like an elite quarterback. He put up numbers that the top 5 quarterbacks that are being paid right now did not put up, with the exception of Russell Wilson. So I'm glad. Here's my number 3. I think this will come as a bit of a surprise. It was to me that I put him this high. Kyler Murray. And here's why.
That's pretty high. I'm not low on the kid, but
in 2019, listen to this. Let's see if I can sell you on this, okay?
Okay.
In 2019, he quietly finished the quarterback 7 in fantasy last year with 3,722 yards, 20 touchdowns, 12 interceptions, 64% completion. He's going into his second year now, and I'm calling for a huge breakout. I'm talking like Lamar Jackson type, kind of surprises everybody, even though I don't think this is going to be as big of a surprise as Lamar Jackson was.
No.
But I'm talking like MVP candidate breakout. Yes, in the second half of the season, he did struggle a bit. He was the quarterback 23 in the second half of the season, but he was the quarterback 5 over the first 11 weeks last year. And now he has DeAndre Hopkins. We cannot forget that he has a Hall of Famer now, 2 Hall of Famers now on his team. DeAndre Hopkins, Larry Legend. He still has Christian Kirk, still has Andy Isabella. He still has that. I lost his name there, the running back.
Oh. Kenyon Drake?
Kenyon Drake, thank you. Coming in from Miami and just scorching everything. And he has that rushing ability, and he can definitely win you a week with his legs as well if he doesn't with his arms. I see upside, huge upside. The floor's a little lower though. But I don't care. I'm all in on Kyler. I am all in on Kyler because listen, quarterback 7 last year. He only threw for 20 touchdowns.
Yeah.
If he can get that number up, and presumably now he has some red zone weapons with DeAndre Hopkins and Larry Fitzgerald. If he can get that number up to close to 30, you're talking about quarterback 7 last year as a rookie? I have a quarterback 3. Maybe that is a little too high, but I don't see that out of the realm of possibilities for Kyler Murray. And I guess I'm just really high on him.
Plus, these are projections. These are projections.
Of course. I guess I'm just really high on him in the Cardinals.
Yeah.
And so
who isn't? I mean, come on.
But I don't think you're going to lose out, or I don't think your fantasy team's going to struggle if you hear me out and you take Kyler as your first-string quarterback in your fantasy team.
I'm not ruling him out. Number 4, I know that this might be, I don't know. Number 4 is Russell Wilson. I'm not a Russell Wilson fan. I think that I don't have anything personally against the guy. I think he's a pretty wholesome kind of dude, but there's a reason why he's never gotten a MVP vote. Period. People were like, "That's ridiculous. That should never have happened."
Because people are crazy.
No,
that's the reason.
No, it's not. I mean, there's just something about him because he makes amazing plays happen. But how often do you watch him play under no duress, in the pocket, and just totally do nothing? I think the only time he ever comes out and does something elite is if he has like 10 guys in his face. Or he throws in the quintuple coverage. I think that he's definitely a talented player. Do not get me wrong. That's why I have him as my number 4. He's still top 5, okay? But people will automatically put him on a pedestal, and I don't know. I'm just not really sold on him. And I'd agree. I don't know. There's a reason why he's not had an MVP vote. And I think that he's definitely talented. Don't get me wrong. He's talented. But I just, people would probably say, why isn't he higher? That's because I just don't see it. I just don't. His inconsistencies and stuff. Yeah, he's going to rack stuff up because he has incredible scrambling ability. And he now has that 6'5" Greek god to throw to in DK Metcalf, but I think that he's definitely somebody you can definitely draft in a later round and say, all right, I'm set.
And you will be set. And I'll get to him when I get to him.
Okay, good. Am I higher than you and him?
Yeah, just about one. Just about
okay,
one.
Good.
Well,
I'm safe. There you go. Number 4, Russell Wilson.
Yeah, well, number 4 for me is Dak Prescott.
Okay.
Dak Prescott, listen, oh my goodness, he had 4,900 yards last year. 30 touchdowns, 11 interceptions. That is 4 years in a row Dak Prescott has been a quarterback 1 for fantasy purposes.
He's really good. People want to hate on him because he's the
Cowboys
quarterback. A quarterback scout.
Last year he was quarterback 2 for the year.
That's crazy.
Quarterback 2 for the year, Dak Prescott. And guess what? For all intents and purposes, he could have been better. Listen to this. The Cowboys receivers dropped the most passes in the NFL with 43. He had an elite year, quarterback 2 for the year, and it could have been better. I don't know if he probably wouldn't have beat Lamar out of the quarterback 1 because he was just that much better than everybody else. But he could have had a better year. Now they add CeeDee Lamb along with the $100 million man, Mark Cooper, and Michael Gallup. And this guy is just consistent.
Another thing, too, that helps, I harped on it last week that I didn't really talk about Dak Prescott for my number 3. He has Ezekiel Elliott, who will help take off some pressure.
Yes.
Not every play is going to rely on Dak Prescott to make some amazing throws.
As a matter of fact, I would say that they try to be a run-first team.
They are.
The fact that he's putting up these crazy numbers is just a test to how good, first of all, the Dallas Cowboys offense is.
Yeah.
And how good Dak Prescott is.
Because you think
about
his
weapons, too.
Lamar Jackson, I think, J.K. Dobbins is definitely going to help them this year as a rookie. But and don't get me wrong, Mark Ingram is a really good running back for short yardage purposes. But he wouldn't finish, top 10 in rush, top 5 in rushing. He didn't wow anybody with his running ability, with their running game. Besides with Lamar Jackson, he made it that way. Now you have somebody that has an elite running back with Dak Prescott can come in here and hand it off and only have to make a couple of big throws, and that's what really matters, So
and the Baltimore situation, I think it's more of a scheme.
It is.
That's why they're so good at running the team.
And another thing I forgot to tell you about Dak, because I didn't want to gush over Dak, but I'm going to now anyway. You have a new head coach, okay? Mike McCarthy is going to come in here. He has success with quarterbacks. I mean, he has Aaron Rodgers. He won a Super Bowl with Aaron Rodgers. Okay, so he's going to be able to come in here. He's not going to be clapping every down like Jason Garrett, but he's going to be able to come in here, establish a new system with this great talent, with his elite receiving core and his elite running game and his elite offensive line. I just think that the more I talk about it, the more I probably should put him at number 2. But I'm just kidding. It's Patrick Mahomes.
Hold up.
I'm kidding.
Don't do that. Number 5.
Number 5 is Josh Allen. As the offseason goes by, Josh Allen just keeps growing on me, man. I don't know what it is. It's this year. This is for Drew. It's the offseason of the Cowboys, the Denver Broncos, and Josh Allen. Okay, so Josh Allen, he's a big dude. Okay, he's huge. He's 6'6". He has a cannon of an arm, and he's not afraid to take it up the gut. He has a highlight reel.
He didn't rush that much last year.
He didn't because
he didn't need to.
Yeah, exactly. He didn't need to. They had Devin Singletary, but he has something. He has the ability to break off a 20-yard run. That's how he made his rookie year. That was Baltimore Ravens. Oh my goodness, the Buffalo Bills' whole offense was him either running with it or just destroying it by lobbing it 70 yards. Now he's becoming more of a serious. You got to take him seriously as a passer because he now has some serious targets.
He's getting better.
Last year, Beasley came in and really established himself as a slot. You have John Brown who came in. It was a speedster. Now you have a realistic possession receiver with Stephon Diggs. That's why I have him here, because he has a really good receiving core, and he has Devin Singletary. He's kind of like I guess you could say the poor man's Dak Prescott at this point, because he's not afraid to break it off for a couple of dozen yards rushing, and then on top of that, he's going to be hard to take down because he's 6'6", 250, whatever he is. Yeah. But I think that I have really high expectations for Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills this year.
I do as well. I'm very excited to watch the Bills. Don't forget about my guy, Zach Moss.
That's true. Third round. He nailed it. Third round pick, Zach Moss.
All right, number 5, Russell Wilson. 4,100 yards, 31 touchdowns, and only 5 interceptions last year. That's crazy good. Look, talk about another consistent fantasy stud. Consistent.
Yeah, he's consistently good in that.
In fantasy. Yeah. We're just talking fantasy here. But, yeah, Russell Wilson's a beast. And
another thing I must really condone him is that he's never had a losing record.
Yeah, never had a losing. I got another stat for you here. He's only had 2 seasons where his touchdown percentage was less than 6%, meaning that every single year, with the exception of those 2 seasons that he had, every single year, at least 6% of his passes are touchdowns. Again, we talked about how that number is really low for most quarterbacks. That's a really high number for it to be almost your career. That is incredibly high. That is Hall of Fame level. Yes, you look it up. I mean, you may not like me saying Russell Wilson's going to be a Hall of Famer, but the facts are that number is Hall of Fame level. He consistently throws touchdowns at this rate. I'm not worried about him, although I will say last year he had a bit of mood swings. Okay, he finished the quarterback 4, but from week 10 on. From week 10 on, second half of the year, essentially, he was the quarterback 21. So he had started off really strong, and then he kind of struggled at the end. But take that as you will. I'm not worried about him. He's a quarterback that at the end of the year, you're going to look at him and you're going to look at the other quarterbacks that were in the waiver wires or the other quarterbacks you could have ended up with, and you're going to say, I'm fine with Russell Wilson. I was okay with Russell Wilson. He throws a lot of touchdowns. Throws very few interceptions, a lot of yards, and he can rush it sometimes. What else would you want from your fantasy quarterback? So Russell Wilson, number 5.
All right. My number 6 is Kyler Murray. Now, I know you already kind of took him as your number 3, right?
Yeah, number 3.
Number 3. I think Cliff Kingsbury has a lot of good things that's up his sleeve, and you add DeAndre Hopkins to that, and I think that Kyler Murray will continue to progress as a professional quarterback. I don't know. My only concern is the offensive line play. Last year, a lot of stuff was a lot of like quick passes, slants, and this, that, and the other that turned into something big. And I know that Kyler Murray's legs also helped him extend plays. But whenever there's just certain time that you have to have enough time to throw. And at some point, is that going to come back and bite him in the butt? That's my only reason why I have it number 6. I agree wholeheartedly what Pedro said about him when he picked him number 3. I think that he has all the potential in the world, but that's my only concern because, one, he's smaller. Okay, I know people wanted to hate on him because he's smaller earlier when he was being drafted, but when he runs out of time on that offensive line, whenever he has to take a 5 to 7 step drop, how is that going to affect him? We'll see. I don't know. That's my only concern.
Yeah. I mean, the good thing about him is that he is elusive and shifty and quick, and he can kind of maneuver out the pocket. But I agree. I mean, the offensive line is a matter of concern for a lot of teams, not just the Cardinals.
And the only time we don't have to worry about the offensive line was pretty much the top 3 of mine, because you have the Chiefs, the Ravens, and the Cowboys. They're pretty good offensive lines. Anyway, Kyler Murray, I do believe with somebody he can definitely help develop himself with DeAndre Hopkins, and he has Larry Legend still there that can still teach him so much. But we'll see what he can do this year as kind of like the gloves come off, and I'm excited to see what he can do. What about you, Pay?
Number 6, I have Deshaun Watson at number 6, and I was still trying to convince myself that was too high.
Yeah.
I mean, he lost his only good weapon, his big weapon in DeAndre Hopkins. But let's not forget that Deshaun Watson is a stud. He's an elite quarterback. He's an elite fantasy quarterback. Last year, 3,800 yards, 26 touchdowns, 12 interceptions, and add another 413 rushing yards as well. He lost his best weapon, I understand, but I actually see this lighting a fire under Deshaun. I think I can totally see him taking this team completely on his back. I feel like the team was already on his back, but I can actually see him like squatting it now and just saying, let's go. I think he's going to rush more. I think he's going to have more passing yards. Of course, with him trying to do that, I do believe his interceptions will go up, but perhaps it'll be like a balance of the scales with the extra production. Another 2-3 interceptions will be fine. But we've seen great fantasy quarterbacks perform with lackluster weapons around them. I'm worried for the Texans. I'm not worried for Deshaun Watson, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
I think he is an elite quarterback who will play way better than the team is playing for fantasy purposes. If that makes any sense. I'm talking for real life.
I'll tell you how I feel about Deshaun Watson later on. He's in my top 10, but I'm not as high as him.
Yeah, I mean, real life, the Texans might go, I don't know, 4-12. But Deshaun's going to have a good fantasy year.
If only. Okay.
All right, number 7.
Number 7 for me is Matt Ryan. Even though the Falcons kind of like after they lost the Super Bowl fell off a cliff, Matt Ryan's numbers really haven't really they haven't really dropped. He still has really good passing yards with Julio Jones, Calvin Ridley.
It's kind of hard not to with Julio Jones.
And exactly, and Austin Hooper had a career year last year, and I think that this will just continue to help. It depends on how Todd Gurley can consistent if he can come back and be Todd Gurley of old. But I put Matt Ryan here because he's still consistently good. Same thing for Russell Wilson. He's going to have consistent numbers, and I think that that's going to be a constant. Matt Ryan will consistently come in here and have a great season. So anyway, I think I don't really have to explain myself that much.
No.
They have Hayden Hurst, who I think that could potentially really be a good fit in this offensive scheme. But when you have Julio Jones, Calvin Ridley, and Hayden Hurst with potentially a healthy Todd Gurley, there you go. I mean, that's the only reason why I put him there, because he's going to be consistently good with that talent.
He's not in my top 10, but I think that's because I took a couple of players that are unknown.
Okay.
The Josh Allens, the Kylers, which Kyler's really high up there, but I mean, he's 35. Will we start to see a decline? I mean, I understand that sounds crazy now because we have a 43-year-old who plays at a pretty high level, but 35, you're getting up there. Yeah. So that kind of my reasons why I don't have him in my top 10. Also, because I just wanted to have these other players in my top 10. It was a matter of who do I take out, and I didn't feel comfortable taking anybody out. So number seven, I have Josh Allen.
Okay.
58% completion. That's not good enough. He's not very accurate. This did go up from 52 his rookie year. He's not the best real-life quarterback, but he's a great fantasy quarterback because of the rushing that he brings to the table. And look, I am 100% sure that Josh Allen, his ceiling is top 3 fantasy quarterback. His ceiling. I just don't know if we're going to see that this year. I don't know if we'll ever see it. His ceiling doesn't mean that he's actually going to hit his ceiling. His ceiling is just his potential. But he's not very accurate. He needs to work on his accuracy and his efficiency. He did take a step forward from his rookie year last year, and that's great to see. Now he has a real weapon, Stephon Diggs. You alluded to him. Can he use him properly though?
Yeah.
Can he hit him?
I'm very confident.
He has a cannon arm. He has the weapon. He has a great running game. He's shown improvement. He has the rushing ability. He's on a good team. It's there. Let's see it. Let's see it. He's my number 7. I'm happy to have Josh Allen on my fantasy team, by the way. Let me just tell you right now, he's on my dynasty team, and I'm excited. And I'm ready to see it. But let's see it.
All right. Let's go number am I?
Number 8. Well,
Number
real
8.
quick, before you go, let me just say one thing that
Okay.
I have on my notes here about Josh Allen.
Okay.
If you're the kind of fantasy player that likes to start off fast and furious, take Josh Allen. In the first 7 weeks, they play the Jets twice. First of all, that's already delicious and scrumptious. But they also play the Dolphins, the Rams, the Raiders, the Chiefs. Those are all games favorable for fantasy purposes. Yeah. You know, the Bills may lose those games, but it doesn't matter. Like, for example, the Chiefs. They'll probably lose to the Chiefs, but it's going to be a shootout. So Josh Allen's going to produce high numbers.
Yeah.
So anyways, he's going to start fast and furious the first 7 weeks. I wouldn't be surprised if he's leading fantasy football the first 7 weeks. So go for Josh Allen if you like to start fast and furious.
All right. So
Number 8.
number 8, I have Carson Wentz, which is, I don't know. I had a hard time picking Carson Wentz in my top 10 because I don't like the Eagles' receiving core. You know,
I don't think he likes the Eagles.
I don't think he does either. But you look at what he has. If Deshaun Jackson's healthy, you know, that's a big
It's a
if.
huge if.
And then you have Jalen Reagor, who we haven't even seen the kid play in a
Right.
pros. Okay, a lot of people want to crap on him because they didn't take Jordan Jefferson.
Justin Jefferson.
Jordan Jefferson is his brother. Justin Jefferson is in the first round, which I was on that bandwagon. Another thing is, how are they going to do with Jalen Hurts? Like, nobody really knows. But I digress. Carson Wentz is still going to. As I look at his numbers, he actually had a career year last year when it came to passing. You know, he had 4,000 yards. He had the second highest completing percentage of his career. He had the second highest touchdowns in his career. And to think about how many more he could have had if Nelson Aguilar hadn't have dropped all those balls. So I still think that he's going to have that safety blanket with Zach Ertz and Dallas Goedert for sure. I mean, that's good that he has that. But it depends on what Jalen Reagor does too. And if Deshaun Jackson does stay like healthy, they could go far. They could put up a fight with the Dallas Cowboys. So I would, if I were in the draft right now, and all these other guys are off, even if some of these guys are still on here, if it's Kyler Murray, I don't know. Carson Wentz would be up there. I think he'd definitely be up there.
You'd be comfortable with it.
I'd be comfortable with it.
Listen, my number 8 is also Carson Wentz.
Oh, cool.
I'm just going to add a few things to what you said because I fully and 100% agree with you. I would be comfortable, 100% comfortable with Carson Wentz. Listen to this. He was the quarterback 9 last year, even with all these deficiencies. And part of it, a huge part of it, was because of his red zone efficiency. All right? 77% of his touchdowns came in the red zone. That's league best. NFL best last year. 77% of his touchdowns in the red zone. I mean, it's not hard to imagine why he has Zach Ertz and Dallas Goedert. So you throw it up there, they'll go get it. And they're still there. And they're getting better. Dallas Goedert is a young prospect getting better. And I'm very excited to see what he does once Zach Ertz starts to diminish his play, or he exits, or he gets traded, or whatever. I know there's rumors of him getting traded, by the way. But
Carson Wentz?
Zach Ertz.
Oh.
But I'm just saying that's why I'm excited about Dallas Goedert. But Carson Wentz is a safe fantasy pick, as safe as they come. Because look at what he did last year. Quarterback 9 with all those deficiencies. He's as safe as they come, and he's sneaky. He's sneaky because a lot of guys, that's a few years now that Carson Wentz has burned people, whether it's injuries or poor play. He has burned people. He might be sitting there round 7, round 8, round 9, round 10 in your fantasy league. Take Carson Wentz round 9. Don't take Patrick Mahomes. Don't take Lamar Jackson. Look, it's fun having Patrick Mahomes and Lamar Jackson. It really is. It is fun. You just plug them in. You're halfway to a win already.
Yeah.
But who are you missing out if you take, for example, Patrick Mahomes and Lamar Jackson might go in the first round.
Yeah.
Who are you not getting? Is it Zeke? Is it
I hope
Devontae
not.
Adams? Solid stud wide receivers. Who are you not getting? Who are you missing? Now think about having that stud player in Carson Wentz. I'm comfortable with it. I'm very much comfortable with it. I always take my quarterbacks late, but that's a spiel for a different day. He has a good ceiling. He has a very safe floor. Carson Wentz, number 8.
Number 9 for me is Drew Brees. Even though he's getting up there in age, he is. I think that the Saints, I've said it on other episodes, I'll say it again, the Saints are all in on the Super Bowl. And I think that means they're going to rack up the points. That being said, Sean Payton and Drew Brees are probably the best coach / quarterback duo in the league now that Tom Brady and Bill Belichick are no longer together. And I think that with Emmanuel Sanders, too, will come in here and stretch the field. You have can't guard Mike with out there catching everything around him. Drew Brees is not going to bomb it 40 yards down the field. He's gonna be smart with his ball placement, the reason why I have him here is the same reason why I have Russell Wilson in my top 10, and Matt Ryan in my top 10 is the consistency. He's gonna be in here and he's gonna be consistently good, and I don't expect any different from this year. The reason why he's just so low is just because of his age, and I think this is probably going to be his last year. So number 9 will be Drew Brees.
Yeah, for sure. Number 9 for me,
Drew Brees?
my guy.
Matthew
My
Stafford.
main guy, Matthew Stafford.
Oh, my goodness.
Number 9.
Lions fan.
No, listen, it has got nothing to do with the Lions. It's got everything to do with the fact that when healthy, Matthew Stafford is a great quarterback. You know how many games he played last year, Drew?
9.
8. He played 8 games last year. Listen to this. 2,500 yards, 19 touchdowns, 5 interceptions.
Walked on water.
In 8 games. If you stretch that out over the pace of 16 games, he was very close, would have been very close to 5,000 yards, 30 touchdowns for a full season before he had his back injury. He was playing elite fantasy quarterback. We all know what Matthew Stafford likes to do. He likes to chuck the ball. He likes to throw the ball deep. Smooth Kenny G's there. He's going to catch it. Marvin Jones is there. This team, I'm telling you, this team is going to be a dark horse this year. I don't see them maybe getting too far, but this team will be a dark horse. Matthew Stafford, if healthy, will have a great year.
Hakuna Matata.
Hakuna Matata. If I tell you that Matthew Stafford's going to play all 16 games and he's going to be healthy, don't tell me he's not a top 10 quarterback.
I never said that. I'm just giving you a hard way to go because you're a Lions fan.
No, listen.
And you're denial.
He was one of the best with throws to the end zone, and at the value that you'll get him for. That's what's so impressive about getting Matthew Stafford this year, is that he will be there in the double-digit rounds. Save your picks, take the running backs, take the wide receivers, ditch the tight ends, ditch the quarterbacks, take them late. Because you could end up with Matthew Stafford as your quarterback. And, okay, maybe you're not convinced on Matthew Stafford. Still, save your picks. Take your running backs, take your wide receivers. And on the 12th and 13th round, take Matthew Stafford and Drew Brees. Because Drew Brees will be there too. And those are great, great fantasy quarterback options at a great premium value price. You didn't pay for them. You damn near got them free.
Yeah.
So, I'm telling you, Matthew Stafford, he's got a great ceiling. And if he stays healthy, he's got a good floor. I'm excited to see what Matthew Stafford does this year.
I'm sure you are.
Who's your number 10?
My last one in my top 10 here is
Matthew Stafford.
Deshaun Watson.
Oh.
The reason why I have Deshaun Watson so low, I do believe that he is an incredible talent. And I do believe that he does not deserve Bill O'Brien at all. No. But the reason why I have him so low, it's kind of piggybacking what Pedro said, is I'm worried about what talent is around him. You look at what he has here. Who is his number 1 wide receiver right now?
It's either Brandon Cooks or Will Fuller.
Will Fuller. I would say Will Fuller is. Look at Will Fuller. In the past 3 years, let's see, he's 2017, he played 10 games.
Yeah, can't stay healthy.
2018, 7 games. Last year, 11 games. Kiki Cutie, who's probably going to be his number 3 or 4 receiver.
Kiki, do you love me?
Has been in the league for 2 years. Has only played 15 games.
Yeah. Brandon
Brandon Cooks has a concussion problem.
He's a concussion away from retiring.
And I just, there's a lot of things that just, and then David Johnson, like that dude, unfortunately, just can't stay healthy and can't produce. So that's my problem with Deshaun Watson. It's not necessarily him. That and the fact that he has to take a bus instead of flying because it might collapse his lung from how hard he's getting hit by this offensive line not blocking. I wouldn't really, for me, I wouldn't really look at Deshaun Watson as an option. And I hate that because, like I said, I don't believe he deserves Bill O'Brien. But he still is a very special player, and if you feel like you can take him, do it. Maybe Will Fuller will come in here and be like, I'm just kidding. I'm not going to tear my ACL again this year, or whatnot. Kiki Cutie's not going to have glass hamstrings. Or Kenny Stills is probably the most consistent player they probably have. If he can stay on the field, go. Let's see what happens. I don't know. Maybe the Texans, like I've said before, my multiple rants, this is not because I'm a Colts fan. I like Deshaun Watson. I've always been a big fan of him since he was at Clemson, especially when he took down Alabama. That was insane. That was the most incredible game I've ever seen in a long time.
That was a fun game.
That was incredible. And that's when I fell in love with him. I think he's a great kid, both off the field and on the field. And this is not me hating on him because he's a rival quarterback in my favorite team's division. No, I have genuine concern for his health and his production that I'm probably not going to touch him with a 10-foot pole this year in fantasy football.
Oh, yeah, I'm fading him. But I will say, I don't think he's going to fall that far.
But if for some reason he's traded tomorrow to the Patriots, top 5.
For sure. Probably. Well, I don't know about top 5, but he's definitely solid.
Because he's got that talent.
Yeah, he
has.
does.
If he were to leave Houston...
And he wouldn't have Bill O'Brien. You know what? You just sold me.
Done.
The only way he goes down from Bill O'Brien is if he goes to Adam Gase.
Don't do that.
Number 10, Drew Brees. Drew Brees, number 10. Look, Drew Brees only played 11 games last year, and he managed to throw for almost 3,000 yards, 27 touchdowns with only 4 interceptions.
And 9 fingers.
Listen, he's hyper efficient as always. Last year, in those 11 games, I know it was only 11 games, but still, his completion percentage was 74.3. That ties for best in his career. At his age, it's just incredible. The guy's just hyper efficient. Excuse me. This is still going to be a great offense who will score a lot of points. I like Drew to go out there and kind of like one last hoorah. And I agree with you. I think they're just going to go out there and try to scorch the earth because they feel like they've been got the short end of the stick for the past few years in the playoffs. That year where they really should have gone to the playoffs on that pass interference call against the Rams. Last year they get beat by the Vikings at home in another iffy call at the end with the touchdown with Kyle Rudolph. But he's 41. So a lot of people will sleep on Drew Brees because he's 41. And they'll move on for him. And they'll take somebody else. They'll take some of the players that we left out. Like maybe they'll take Aaron Rodgers over him, I think. Which I think is a huge mistake. You take Drew Brees because he's safe. You know what you're getting with Drew Brees. You're going to be able to get him very late in your draft.
Exactly. And you might even pick him off the waiver wire.
And at that value, at that price, that's what we want. That's what I love. That's what I love, at least. Great quarterbacks late where I can stack up on my stud running backs, stud wide receivers. I'll take quarterback late. I'm okay. Drew Brees, number 10. I'm very excited to see even Drew Brees. See what the Saints do. See if they can make it to their Super Bowl.
I think they can.
I think the NFC is wide open. I'm telling you. I wouldn't be surprised if Dallas makes it to the Super Bowl.
I'm not there yet. I'm high on them, but I'm not there yet.
You would be there.
Because I don't want people to think I'm completely stupid. Because we're like, I don't want to lose all credibility. I like Dallas football, Dallas fans. I respect Jerry Jones. I love Jerry World. I've been there. But I'm not there to be able to say it feels like 1995 for whenever they won their last,
They're not far from it, though.
No, they're not.
They're not far from the Super Bowl.
Especially if they get Jalen, what's his name? Not Jalen,
Jamal Adams.
Jamal Adams. If they trade for Jamal Adams, I might go buy a jersey tomorrow.
Oh, I don't know about all that. That's it. That's all we got.
That's all.
Top 10 fantasy quarterbacks. We hope you guys liked it. We'll be back next week. We'll do the top 10 fantasy wide receivers.
Wide receivers.
A lot of good wide receivers out there. Great wide receivers. Very excited.
It's hard. It's gonna be hard. I've been debating on it. I've been trying to make a list so far, and right now there's so many good ones, and I think there's a lot of good underrated ones too.
I don't think the top 10 is that hard. I think the really hard ones are like the 8, 9, 10, because you're looking at the players you leave out, and you're like, how am I leaving this guy out?
Yeah.
So
who's your number one right now? Go.
Michael Thomas. He's yours too. What are you talking about? This guy's crazy.
Michael Thomas. No.
You got anything else before we go?
No. I think that the best thing to do right now is just end the show.
I think so too. I think you're right. All right, guys. Thank you guys for coming on out. Make sure you keep watching us, listening to us. Listen to the podcast. Watch us on YouTube. Twitter at Gridiron Podcast. And let us know what you guys think. Thank you guys for watching. We'll see you next week. Top 10 fantasy wide receivers. See you then.